What is going on, everybody? It's AG here with the release of Stephen King's newest adaptation, The Boogeyman, coming to theaters today. I figured it'd be a good time to rank my top 10 Stephen King movies. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so when it comes to Stephen King, I mean, you got like a million freaking options here. You could pick any scary movie you've seen, and chances are Stephen King might have adapted it somehow, or it might be a Stephen King book. There ain't no telling. But we're going to go with my top 10 here, or at least try to. There's a lot of scary movies on here, a lot of horror movies. There's also some classic movies he did that aren't horror that you might not know are actually Stephen King adaptations, so we're going to get to that here in a second. But before we get to this list, go ahead and comment your list down in the comment section. And if you're new here, if you like what you see, hit that like button. And also, if you enjoy this video, make sure to subscribe. Alright, so before we get into the video, full disclosure, I've not seen Misery, and that's one that is on a lot of people's list. So Misery is probably the only movie not on this list that would have potential to move up. Other than that, my top 10 are pretty firm here. Let's go ahead and get into the top 10. So with that being said, coming in at number 10 is Secret Window. This is a more recent watch for me. It's got Johnny Depp in it, and basically Johnny Depp is a writer in the movie. I don't know if Stephen King has any inspiration, you know, if Johnny Depp's kind of supposed to be him in this movie, I'm not sure. But basically, he's a writer in this movie, Johnny Depp, and this guy keeps coming to his cabin, kind of his window of sorts, and claiming that Johnny Depp stole his story, and that's his story. And so from there, a lot of stuff goes down, but this is overall a pretty enjoyable movie, though. Coming in at number 9, we have a classic, Children of the Corn. Children of the Corn, you've probably heard of this movie before. I don't know if you've seen it. It's not very good, so I don't know if necessarily you should go watch it, but it's one of those you almost just have to watch just to say you watched it because it's so talked about. And I'll admit, if this happened in real life, this will be kind of scary because you're trapped out in the middle of nowhere and a bunch of kids are just going nuts, basically, and they're almost like a cult, and they're the Children of the Corn. That's where the name comes from, and they're trying to attack you, kind of. And the name Malachi will stick with you from this movie. So if you take anything away from this movie, stay away from kids in cornfields and run if you see kids walking out of the cornfield. All right, so moving on to number 8, we have 1408. So 1408, pretty underrated movie. It's got John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson. John Cusack in this movie basically writes or tries to debunk, kind of. John Cusack is not a believer of the paranormal stuff, but basically he goes and visits these haunted places. And in the movie, he goes to visit this room, 1408, in this hotel where I think somebody was murdered or something. I can't remember exactly what happened. But basically, this haunted hotel room. And once he gets there, a lot of stuff goes down. This is a pretty good movie, actually. Very underrated, in my opinion. Very underseen. I might actually go watch it after I film this video. All right, so getting to my top 7 here. These top 7 are all pretty high on my rankings. Like probably top 200 movies of all time, we're talking. And you can't go wrong with any of these number 7. If you've got other movies in there, though, you can't go wrong with that either. That's your list. This is just my list. But coming in at number 7, we have the original Carrie. So Carrie is just a good movie in general. It's a good concept here. Sissy Spacek does a great job here. And this movie is one where you feel for the person that's getting back. Like you feel for the person that's going to end up ultimately doing some bad stuff. This movie, you can kind of see where it's headed almost, but this is a borderline great movie. Carrie's a must-watch. So, coming at number 6, we have Pet Sematary, the original. So, the original Pet Sematary, one of the scarier movies out there. Not necessarily the movie itself. Now, there is some scary stuff going on in this, but we'll get to what the scarier part is later. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But if you hadn't seen this movie, Pet Sematary, basically, there's a cemetery out behind this house where this family moves to. And long story short, somebody in their family dies, and the cemetery is like a ritual place of sorts where they say, like, you know, devil worshippers type of people worshipped at this gravesite. And so basically when somebody in their family dies, they go to the cemetery and somehow that person gets brought back to life. And when they get brought back to life, think zombified. Think like they're zombified almost, you know what I'm saying? So it's them, but it's not them. But the scariest part of this movie is the wife's sister, Zelda. If you've seen this movie, you know exactly what I'm freaking talking about. But Zelda is just creepy. Like, this movie itself was not that scary to me, but Zelda is imprinted on my mind. Like, once you see this, you can't unsee this. It's disturbing on so many levels. Yeah, I can picture right now talking about it, and I really don't want to. So, going on to the next movie. All right, so getting in the top 5 here. Top 5 are all in my top 100 movies of all time. That's for sure. Like, mark it down, book it. They're all on my list for sure. But with that being said, coming in number 5, we have The Green Mile. So this is one of the movies I said you might not know is a Stephen King adaptation. There's a couple of those on here. But The Green Mile, an overall great movie. It's a tough watch, you know what I'm saying? It's one of those movies where it's hard to watch, but it's got Tom Hanks in it, and it's got a young Sam Rockwell in here, actually, too. He's the bad guy in this, basically. But this is just an overall outstanding movie. If you haven't watched it, do yourself a favor, go watch it. It's kind of long, so it might take a couple sittings to get through, because it is pretty brutal. But basically, in this movie, there's a guy that gets sent to prison for the wrong reasons. He's not actually guilty, but he's basically profiled and sent to prison for this and put on death row. And Tom Hanks is one of the guards on death row, and basically him and the guy that's on death row build a friendship of sorts. And the guy that's on death row, there's some more stuff going on with him than you know at first, and just an excellent watch. All right, so coming to number 4, It Chapter 1. It Chapter 1, I was a huge fan of this movie, and the top 4 of this are probably in my top 25 movies of all time, so that just shows you how good these movies are. But It Chapter 1, one of my favorite scary movies of all time, in my top 5 horror movies of all time, definitely. Just really gives you that Stranger Things vibe, and I'm a big fan of Stranger Things, but it gives you that kid camaraderie, and seeing them go up against Pennywise. Pennywise is pretty freaky in his own right, but seeing the group of friends that are all probably like middle schoolers, you know, seeing them group up and try to fight this clown or it is just an awesome watch. Now, It Chapter 2, not so much. All right, so coming to number 3, Shawshank Redemption. Another one that you might not know is a Stephen King adaptation. Shawshank Redemption, if you don't know what it is, it's that movie that's always on AMC every day of the week. You turn, like you're sick from school, you turn on the TV, chances are Shawshank Redemption's on somewhere. So if you're watching this, if you're home, go find it on TV right now. Shawshank Redemption's on, I promise. But Shawshank Redemption, just a great movie, man. A guy gets sent to jail. You don't know if he did it or not. It's got Morgan Freeman in it as well as the guy that helps this guy, basically. And basically the whole movie is they're trying to escape from prison, basically. And the route that they go to get there is just one of the best movies of all time. And it's just a perfect watch for any time of the day, any time of year. All right, so coming in number 2, we have maybe the best horror movie of all time. Definitely in my top 2, we have The Shining. And The Shining, Jack Nicholson going crazy in this movie. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And that's a great sentence. I agree. But anyways, watching Jack Nicholson in this movie go off the rails and just turn on his family is a must-see movie. And this movie has some weird stuff going down. It's directed by Stanley Kubrick. Some of the stuff you see in this movie is pretty disturbing, I'll admit. But basically, they go to this hotel, and Jack Nicholson is the caretaker there, and he takes his family with him. And once they get there, like with a lot of movies on this list, some stuff is going to go down. That's for freaking sure. And what goes down is insane and basically makes Jack Nicholson go a little cuckoo. Let's just say that. All right, and coming in number 1 for me is Stand By Me. So Stand By Me, another one that you might not know is a Stephen King movie. Just a great movie in general, man. It's one of the movies that is a must-watch, in my opinion, if you've not watched it. Like, it's a movie I would recommend everybody go watch, because no matter what, no matter how you feel about Stephen King, this movie's just a good movie, and it's kind of got that it feel, like I was talking about earlier. So a group of kids basically go on this hunt to try to find this dead body. And basically, the stuff that goes down in this movie, man, just takes you back to your childhood, makes you miss being a kid. And this is just a great movie, man. Definitely in my top 10 movies of all time. And this is one that just must watch. So that's my list. Let me know your list, like I said, down in the comment section. If you disagree with anything, let me know what you disagree with. If you agree, if this is your complete top 10, let me know that too. But let me know your list down below. If you like what you saw here, like this video. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button for more movie, sports, and gaming. And thanks for watching. Until next time, AG, out.